All right, everybody, good afternoon. We've almost made it to the end of Monday, and I thought I'd throw together another early look at the injury report coming out of yesterday's game. It's been about coming up on 24 hours since the end of the game, and we've had the opportunity to collect some information on some of the guys who went down yesterday. So, what do we have to say about the injury updates? Well, first of all, there actually aren't that many, which is one of the few positives we can take out of yesterday's game. As much as things went poorly for us on the field, not a lot of injuries coming out of that one. So, the only significant injury that I saw in yesterday's game that has any opportunity to hamper us in future games is regards to Brandon Shell. I know that DK Metcalf was limping off the field at one point. Carson might have limped off the field at one point, I'm not sure. But they seem totally fine. I'm not concerned about either of those guys being injured for next week's game against the Vikings. However, Brandon Shell would be a significant loss because we don't exactly have a ton of depth at tackle that we feel good about. There's Jamarco Jones, who to me is more of a guard than a tackle. And then there's Jake Curhan, who just got here, and Stone Forsythe, who just got here and might be more of a left tackle anyway. So this is somewhat significant. There was an MRI on Brandon Shell's ankle sprain that was pretty positive. And by the way, I'm pretty sure he meant pretty positive in that it came back negative. There was no break, there was no sign that it's going to be a long recovery. So I'm pretty sure that's the good positive. They've got to see how the injury responds this week. Now, when Carroll says things like that, I think we've all kind of learned that it might be a little more serious than he's willing to let on. So when he said that it's pretty positive and they've got to see how the injury responds this week, that makes me feel like he might miss some time. And I don't know if Shell played a very good game against the Titans, but I do believe he's the best we have. And it's not particularly close. And I don't think Shell's bad. Some people do. I don't. I think he's fine. I think he's okay. But we have to prepare ourselves for the possibility of not having Shell next week, in my view. Carroll tends to be optimistic about injuries, overly so. So when he says they've got to see how it responds this week, that tells me it could be severe. And that's about it in terms of things that actually happened yesterday. I know Damien Lewis missed some snaps. He was rotating a little bit with some of the backups, but I have every reason to believe as of right now that Damien Lewis did not come out of that game any worse than he was when he went in. So I fully expect him to play against the Vikings. And other than the penalty, which was a big deal, don't get me wrong, big deal, can't have it. He actually played really well according to pass rush metrics. So I'll give it up to Damien Lewis. He gutted it out there, and other than the very costly penalty, did do some good work out there. The only other stuff with an injury report right now that is worth going over is leftovers from the game against the Colts. So we have Dwayne Esgridge, who we already knew was in good shape to return against the Vikings. And Carroll echoed those sentiments earlier today. He said that Dwayne Esgridge has a real good chance to return this week from his concussion. Now, I'm not even going to try to pretend that we can reasonably blame the loss yesterday on not having Dwayne Esgridge because he's a number 3 receiver and you're supposed to be about more than that. But we do clearly need his speed. We clearly need his acceleration. We need him out there. He adds a dimension to this offense that even Tyler Lockett, who is playing very well so far this year and is very fast, he can't match it. He can't match Dwayne Eskridge's pure speed. And if we had somebody like Eskridge out there, maybe we could have forced Tennessee to not do some of the things they did on defense to get quick pressure. I'm not blaming yesterday's game on the injuries at all, but this offense clearly benefits greatly from having Eskridge out there, even if he's not putting up great numbers. So, real good chance he gets back this week, which is great news for me. And the only other player of relevance is Brian Monet. Carroll did not really say anything about Monet either way, other than that he would have helped against Tennessee, which is obviously true and everybody knows it. But again, He's not even your best defensive tackle. He's a restricted free agent UDFA guy who you turned into something over the last couple years, but that is not an excuse for losing a game. Not having him cannot be the excuse. However, the relevant point is, will we have him back next week against the Vikings? The fact that he was not declared out until right before the game tells me that he's probably going to be fine. I honestly expected him to play the whole week and was really surprised when he was declared inactive before kickoff. So clearly, maybe we were caught off guard there. Maybe it was a little worse than we were giving it credit for. But the fact that it went up to the 11th hour with him tells me that he's probably going to play against the Vikings and this was just a 1 week thing. That would be my guess right now, but we don't know. So that's really all the injury stuff. It was, like I said, a pretty clean game for the Seahawks in terms of injuries. Coming out of the game, nothing really to worry about except for Shell. We can be grateful for that, right? So, excuse me. Couldn't sleep last night because I was so irritated about yesterday's game. But should be some streams later today. Don't know exactly what I'll stream, but I will stream something. We got a Monday night game. We'll watch the Monday night game in the background while I'm playing whatever I'm playing. And yeah, see you guys there. Go Hawks.